thing on
I'm
the
crafting these stars.
I was building a star, right? It was a red dwarf.
This guy's like, I need more gas, and I'm like, buddy, I got all the gas I could ever handle from the pastrami on rye sandwich that I ate earlier.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I secretly started playing StarCraft because I felt nostalgic, and then I started to get into it, and I was like, I don't want to tell anybody because I don't want anybody to try to play versus me in StarCraft.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to get to like where I feel like I could play a friend if they also only know a little bit about StarCraft. My actions per minute don't get above like 30 though.
That's like probably 2 times as much as I could do.
I like that you're even measuring that.
How much is the standard game? How much time does it take to play like a standard game usually?
I've only played against AI so far, and I can usually so far take care of their base, and I usually go excessive, so it takes a little longer. But what I was just playing, if I played for another 5 minutes, I probably would have taken their base down. So it was probably like less than 10 minutes. But that's against like really easy AI.
And anyone can play this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm anybody.
You're anybody. I'd love to play some StarCraft with you.
Guys like me could play this? I'm a guy like me.
The only bad part is you gotta be a blip on Blizzard's radar, but
yeah, that is
discontinued supporting this game a long time ago, so I don't know that it helps them.
True. Oh Lord.
Yeah, they're probably.
I'm currently
their time of making money from StarCraft is long past.
I've fallen in love with it though. I never thought I'd be an RTS guy, but I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, I was a big fan of. I love RTSs, but I'm so bad at them that like I could never really fall in love with them.
Same.
But
that's how I felt. That's exactly how
I like the idea of a RTS.
Yes,
but historically, I have been like, whatever is worse than awful.
Yeah,
right.
Dismal.
I only
enjoyed a good way to describe it.
I only enjoyed it when it was multiplayer and you're doing like a co-op, like campaign, like it's the two of you versus an enemy.
Yep. Yeah, that's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
The cool part about this campaign mode, though, is each level specifically takes you through how to control a single type of unit. So
right.
The basic strategy is to typically lean into whatever unit they're teaching you, but it's just kind of cool because it amps up with you learning about different units and learning how to make multi-bases and manage multi-bases and
oh hell yeah,
yada yada. Yeah.
I mean, I do every once in a while enjoy watching like a super fast forwarded game, competitive game.
Yeah.
And it's like always interesting how like what I would do if I ran into someone's base and what like a pro player will do. Like they will like just destroy all their resource gatherers and like
right
and just
especially
like
an early game, yeah.
Yeah, like they'll rate exactly like they fuck up your game economy and it's just like damn, that's so savage.
Or they have like what they call our cheese strategies, which are like instead of going for a legitimate base building attacking strategy, you go for something cheeky like building a barracks behind their line or like building a single bunker behind their mineral line and getting one marine in it. So they just like they'll get it down eventually, but it's just gonna fuck them up for so long that you're just gonna be so far ahead of them.
Exactly.
A truly elite strat.
Right. But I used to like
as they say.
I used to
remember when they used to say that.
A truly elite strat. Talk about the micros and the macros and
the macros, bro. My boy used to always be talking about macros.
Macros and micros, baby.
It's hilarious. My buddy, known as New Joe, not Joe that started off playing this with us, but New Joe, another guy named Joe I know, was the only one of us when we switched over from playing in person to Roll20 who actually like went through and set up the macros for all of his rolls.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah.
And I was actually hanging out with him recently, and he confessed that part of the reason that he didn't continue playing in the second campaign was that having set up Roll20 in that way, it made it feel like just a shitty video game to him. He's like, I loved the story and everything, but like to do all my stuff, it was just I had to click a button. which was intensely boring. Like having to
a
like
really
keep
shitty
track of
World
all
of
the stuff
Warcraft.
in person and like, you know, roll all the dice for it in real life is like a different experience than
Yeah.
doing it on there. And I was like, dude, that's completely fair.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Bummer.
It's a pretty interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
he did it
it's
to
interesting.
himself. I understand why he did it, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a bummer for sure that it wound up with him not enjoying playing the game as much.
Yeah,
It's
for
funny
sure.
because like I think like the opposite. Like my DM will put like a like light pack fire, like a fire ground, like a campsite, and I'll be like, wow, this is kind of like a shitty video game.
That's amazing.
That's like the highest bar I strive for is like at least like
Shitty game.
video game. Shitty game, yeah. Shitty Kojima.
Shitty Kojima, I love that.
My man. Oh hail Koji. Kojima.
Oh yeah.
That's actually not true.
Not true.
He
Not
made
true.
He made
Not
like
true.
2 all the way good games.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Speaking of playing good games, things I didn't do.
Hey.
This is the intro.
Hey, I get it. I see where you went with that. That's amazing.
I played God of War 2018 because Paul bought me a copy of it. And I played it for, let's see here. Where'd it go? No, I didn't play all these other games before this.
It was a good bit of hour. I
after
mean, you
this.
put like so.
At least an hour. It was definitely at least
It
an
was
hour.
more than an hour. You got like
It was
7 pages out of an hour. That's amazing. I feel like it was more than that.
I guess more like 30 hours.
31.8 according to Steam.
Yeah, an hour, and you put in 31. Was that really the spread?
I did it in the hyperbolic time chamber.
But of course,
When I think
I can go Super Saiyan now also.
yeah, I'm Super Saiyan.
Can you do a spirit bomb?
No, I don't have that much pizzazz.
Okay.
Yeah, you need subscribers to do that.
Hey,
If we get,
we've made like
I don't know, if we get 500 subscribers, I'll bleach my hair and tell everyone I went Super Saiyan.
That's brave of you.
And will you rap
It'll
an
never
Eminem song, please?
No, I will not do that. Not for any money. Fuck that.
So, I googled
But yeah.
God of War, and it's got a 10 out of 10 on Steam, a 4 out of 5 on Common Sense Media, a 9.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which I guess they have any business rating video games. And, a 95% liked this video game, with probably maybe 0.00002 of that representing Paul's upvote. That's probably actually more than he actually that's probably more weight than he actually represents.
Especially considering I definitely did not partake in any poll on it. But
You were telling
there
me
is
that you
also
were making multiple Google Mail accounts just so that you could specifically rate this up when you found out that Ivan was writing this essay.
Right, because it's his
I
favorite
thought I told
game.
you that in confidence.
And I told you what happens on the stream stays on the stream and on the internet forever.
Welcome to the internet.
But ooh.
So Paul, do you want to start? Well, I guess we should say this is How to Kick Flip a Horse
Hey.
special edition. At least until Ari gets here. If Ari suddenly shows up, we might switch over to Burn Bright. But right now, I'm calling this Triple F Games #1, God of War 2018.
Do it like breaking news, but it's for 2018.
So yeah, and I'm going to. So I played God of War for 31.8 hours, and then I wrote a 14-page essay.
In
on
31.8 font?
No, 31.8 hours. I've currently got it at 18-point font, and it comes out to 20 pages.
Ah.
It says I got 5,096 words.
Is that God of War 2? Which God of War is that?
This is God of War 4.
Yeah. And I'll say yes to that, but that's only because I've looked it up afterwards, because I have not played a single other God of War game besides this game.
Right. So when you played this, did you have any awareness of the preceding series? Like,
None,
did you know?
none.
Did you know that they
Yeah.
existed at all? You just thought
I
this,
did, and knew that Kratos killed a lot of gods.
Objection.
And that those gods had it coming. I knew that he had killed a lot of gods, and when we started the game off with an axe, I was a little bit confused because I thought he had flaming, like, daggers.
Sword bound arms, sword.
right. See, that confused me too, because those weapons were very fun in the previous.
Yeah.
games.
Well,
I think they were
they're very
over
fun in
though.
this game,
This
too.
was this was also the redefining of
that.
the franchise.
Yeah.
From what I
I guess we'll get to that.
Okay, these are just cursory statements that I've heard made about
Yeah,
it.
for sure. And please, throughout, feel free to continue offering these input. Someone's getting blown up on Steam. I don't know what's making that sound.
What?
I keep hearing a little bum. Is that me?
I don't think
That.
it's me. Maybe it's me.
I hate this.
Is it making noise now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Are you making?
I can hear you now.
Eating ass now? What?
Sorry.
Sit on my face?
All right. So yeah. So I guess let's. So you enjoyed this game very much, Paul?
I did, but I'll give you a little, like, not to kind of defend against the rampage you're about to go on here, but just for a little bit of context for like my gaming history is that
Sure.
I have not gamed a lot, like in many years, and I picked up God of War. I bought a PlayStation at like the beginning of COVID lockdown. I played some Call of Duty, but outside of that, played like God of War and the Spider-Man game on PlayStation 4. And it was the God of War. Like, I've played in the past some open world stuff. Like, the last time I really played a console game was GTA 5. I tried to play Red Dead Redemption 2, but found that open world to be like way too expansive of an open world where I was just like endlessly doing side quests. And so this was like the world has shut down. I haven't really gamed much. I want to find a single player game that is not just like ridiculous open expanse like world. And with that said, yeah, I got into this and I thought it was fantastic. I thought the game mechanics were simple enough because I'm mostly like a button masher. I'd never learned how to really properly do any of the I played it on difficulty easy. I think I never got to learn how to do like the parries and all the complicated shit to like really do all the attacking well. It was definitely mostly just button mashing. And it like
This is
I
a gripping testimonial.
I genuinely enjoyed the mechanics of the game and the story of the game.
Well,
Prepare to eat shit.
I didn't. So
I disagree.
So
Unfortunate.
obviously, spoilers from here on out.
Big time.
In my written essay, I headed every section with spoilers, obviously spoilers.
Okay.
So a friend I don't talk to anymore, but whose opinions at one point I respected, if not always agreed with, told me that God of War 2018 was one of the best games they'd ever played. Obviously, I'm not talking about Paul here because I still talk to Paul.
I was like,
This is Ivan telling
ended
Paul
like
that he's
that.
not talking
Shit.
to him anymore.
And I can't help but wonder, what the fuck was he talking about? Back in the day, I played and beat God of War on the PlayStation 2. I don't remember super clearly, but I have the impression I might have rented it from a Blockbuster. A thought that makes me think perhaps I am in fact a skeleton, cobweb encrusted, a trail of grave loam at my feet. Dead, ancient, and forgotten. Insert old man yells at cloud meme here. While my memory of the circumstances under which I played the game is foggy, my memory of the game itself is surprisingly crystalline because it was an awesome game. You play as Kratos, a Spartan warrior who is capital F fucking capital P pissed. In a moment of desperation, he calls out to Ares, god of war of the Greek pantheon, and pledges his service and allegiance if Ares will grant him victory in this battle. Ares obliges, and Kratos gets some sweet as hell swords on chains, then goes on to whoop on the rest of Greece's ass. While doing said ass whooping, Kratos accidentally murders his own family, and the guilt drives him to swear vengeance on Ares, who I guess later he finds out is at fault for the murder, being the one that put Kratos up to destroying this village in the first place. You go on an epic quest across environments that are varied and interesting, populated by numerous enemies to slaughter with excellent feeling combo-based combat mechanics. There are a fair amount of QuickTime events. I think it's part 2 that has the one where Kratos fucks. Anyone feel free to verify that on my behalf. And I think this was also the inception of this is in quotes, uncharted climbing parts. But it was 2005 and we didn't know any better yet.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure you can get power-ups and special moves and stuff. I remember there being a sort of advancement system, but I think it was only a few skills that more or less changed the colors of your swords. Pretty solid chance I might be misremembering that. Anyway, Kratos swears his vengeance, whoops a ton of ass, and eventually opens Pandora's box, the MacGuffin of the first game, which turns him kaiju-sized and lets him stab Ares in the chest with a sword made out of a bridge. His enemy defeated and his vengeance exacted, Kratos tries to rest by throwing himself off a cliff, only to be horked back up by Poseidon and told by Athena that there's a vacancy on Olympus and that he's now the god of war.
Whoops.
Insert you're the man now dog meme here. Kratos broods like Alex DeLarge in A Clockwork Orange, and the credits roll. The story is wrapped up, the main character achieves his goal, and the paradigm has shifted completely from what it was at the beginning of the game. Kratos has lost everything while gaining the throne of a literal god. Man who was only good at war becomes its literal embodiment, wrath personified and immortal. Cannot stress this enough, but it is completely tight as fuck. I know I played the second game, but I think I remember it being much more difficult, and also that might be the one that I rented. At the very least, whatever the reason, I know I didn't beat it, even though I do remember having a great time when I wasn't about to pitch my controller through the TV. And again, gorgeous environments, varied enemies, over-the-top combat that was fun enough to keep me playing even through incredible levels of frustration. I also remember like hundreds of murders. Kratos killed so many people, monsters, titans, demigods, and gods, obviously, in those first 2 games. I never played the third one, but I have no reason, having watched a story summary video recently, to believe that it was in any way lesser than the first 2. Kratos kills Zeus, the rest of the Olympic pantheon, and finally himself, I guess, and the story of the Ghost of Sparta, the god of war, comes to an end. Except no, it doesn't. Because AAA gaming demands familiar properties to continuously recycle and, quote, unquote, reinvent. So now, 12 years later, okay, God of War 2018 was only 8 years after God of War 3, but I only played it this year. Kratos is alive! Has had himself a whole new family in the intermission.
Yay.
But his wife is dead, or has been fridged. Look it up. And his son, but But his wife is dead and his son is a whiny griever, and somehow only now are the
Fact.
gods of the Norse pantheon made aware of Kratos' existence. Because reasons.
Seems fine.
With an invulnerable god and his bumbling nephews on his tail, Kratos and Boy must explore a hub world, find MacGuffins, kill 3 specific dudes and 3-ish unique enemy types with no combo system, over-the-shoulder combat, incomprehensible equipment upgrade system, unearned emotional beats, and fall-flat reveals. I did not enjoy God of War 2018 very much.
Yep.
Moving right along to part 2.
Yes.
This is themes. Spoilers, obviously spoilers. Fatherhood, family, responsibility, loss, trauma. To look at the game and give it a tremendous benefit of the doubt, you may well think that some of these things come up throughout and you'd be wrong. These concepts are mentioned, indeed some of them by name, but I would say none of them are represented in a way that made me give a single shit about them. Throughout, Kratos is a gruff, growly, and stern dad to his son, Boy. No, I will not be using his given name. You will not convince me that the kid's name is not Boy. Let me have this single bit of pleasure. He is, however, imminently present and willing to give Boy pointers on how to hunt and survive and is rightly frustrated when Boy fails again and again to heed his instruction and advice, though in the way of discipline, he raises his voice and that's it. Like once. Game either expects us to treat this as tantamount to the violence and brutality committed by Kratos in the previous game, or expects us to treat these instances as such in a vacuum, which is even more mind-boggling. At no point is there a threat of violence to Boy from Kratos. It just doesn't happen, and it doesn't make any sense. This is the first, perhaps most glaring disparity between what the game does and what the game expects us to think it does. It wants to portray Kratos as a bubbling cauldron of potential violence. However, the whole game he stays in perfect control of his faculties, only harming the people he intends to harm. So what's the game trying to say about violence? Anything? The rest of the game thinks violence is pretty damn sweet. Moreover, no one in the game world treats Kratos' violence against the various monsters of Midgard as anything but completely expected and rote. There's one sequence where Boy kills his first human and is overcome with grief momentarily.
True.
It's apparently harder to kill dudes than it is piles of demons. But this is never really addressed again. Boy has a wild temper tantrum at one point, but again, never addressed subsequently. He doesn't struggle because he's a kid in an insane world with an insane father and a god trying to kill his dad. He struggles because this part of the story requires it. Boy either immediately learns his lesson, or it never comes up again. Excuse me. So, what about the theme? Let me know if you guys want me to slow down or stop or anything.
No, that's fine.
You're
Get
good.
some,
Get
you're good.
some quips in if you feel the need.
Oh, yeah.
So what about the theme of sons killing fathers? There was a lot of potential here, I thought, for subversion of this trope, and could have been an interesting callback to the previous games where Kratos murdered his wife and kid. But those games don't matter, except when they do. The only thing this game wants us to remember from the previous games, it seems, is that Kratos killed Zeus, and Zeus was his dad. Nothing is said about Athena, though she does peer Sans' explanation, or Ares, who are arguably both more important figures in Kratos' original journey. There's one moment of recognition where Boy is like, so that ghost we saw earlier was your dad, and you killed him. And then,
Whoops.
nothing. We could have had a whole saga about Kratos trying to turn his son away from violence, but being horrified as time and again his teachings fall on deaf ears and Boy grows ever more merciless and sadistic in his killings, leading to either Kratos again having to kill his progeny, or allow himself to be killed and usurped. Like what they did with Freya and Baldur, out of nowhere, right at the end, for basically no reason. Instead, at the end, Baldur tries to kill Freya, who is totally fine with getting killed. Kratos kills Baldur, and then Freya swears vengeance on Kratos.
That definitely felt weird to me.
Yeah, why did it take so many steps to get here? Why isn't Kratos okay with also killing Freya? Did he forget about his hatred of the gods because Freya was briefly nice to Boy? Doesn't sound like he's really that mad. Doesn't sound like something someone with at all consistent characterization would do.
I'd say that she also didn't seem consistent of like, my son's a monster. Oh, you killed this monster. Now I'm gonna kill you. Like,
She just shows up and is like, by the way, that shit was like, I think that might have been one of the many points where I, alone in my apartment, said out loud, "What the fuck?" or something to that effect. So,
it was a bit of a heel turn.
Not in a cool way.
Something like that. So yeah, no one learns anything, as near as I can tell, and it's tacitly accepted that sometimes you have to solve problems with violence, and we move on. We don't even get a "with great power comes great responsibility" analog. This reminded me a lot of something I didn't enjoy from a different game that I did wind up enjoying overall, which was Telltale's The Wolf Among Us. Did any of you guys play that?
But I'm familiar with
Nope.
Telltale games. They have a specific like style, right?
Yeah, it's just
It's like
they just kinda do, like
events.
yeah, like the interactive, like branching narrative based dialogue, with like a quick time event to punch a guy or like stab a zombie or whatever. The first two Walking Dead games I thought were both really good. The Batman one was also really good. And this game ultimately was good. It just didn't, I don't know, it didn't tell a story that I was interested in because it kind of, well, I'll
Fair
explain. Throughout the intro, we're told that I guess I put spoiler warning further down, but I guess it should be up here. Spoiler warning for a very old, specifically niche game. Throughout the intro, we're told that Bigby Wolf is trying to turn over a new leaf. He's done with being the big bad wolf. The concept of a character with limitless physical potential choosing to use their brains is one I find fascinating and was looking forward to seeing happen in The Wolf Among Us. But, oh, here's the spoiler warning. But you almost immediately wind up in a knockdown, drag-out brawl, which, if you lose, takes you to the game over screen, instead of accommodating the choice to allow Bigby to get pummeled.
Jesus.
Like, he's invincible. It doesn't matter if he gets beat up.
Right.
God of War does the same thing, but in addition, is a boring and badly written game as well. To be fair, I'm aware that even good games can do this poorly or fail to address the dissonance of a happy-go-lucky, or at least not completely obviously an anti-hero protagonist murdering hundreds of dudes, like in Uncharted. Those games are fun, though.
Are they?
I've never played one.
I played the first Uncharted, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I also liked I liked Girl Uncharted, too. Tomb Raider,
Uncharted?
the more recent Tomb Raider remake series. The first one of those I thought was actually really good.
Just like as
they
like
were
a
free on a platform I'm not going to mention.
like what is the level of open worldness in those games compared to God of War though?
Pretty well. In Tomb Raider more so. Uncharted is basically just like a series of set pieces, but it's like cool, clever writing and like fun to actually play aside from like the climbing parts.
That makes sense.
At least
Yeah,
for me.
the-
I don't know.
That makes sense.
Okay, I can definitely
I kept thinking
hear
playing the Tomb Raider game, like, you know what this needs is the survival mechanics from fucking Snake Eater.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It would have been so cool if there was like it would have added so much to like the gritty realism that they were going for if you could like if you did like the like I don't know what you call it, like makeshift first aid on your injuries and shit.
Right.
And like had to like kill a goat to like actually not starve to death while you're out in the woods murdering like 100 guys.
Deep in that
Like,
murder
with
scene.
your fucking hands.
Lara Croft kills so many people. It's unruly. And it's like only the first one is difficult. After that, she's just like, well, I guess I'm just a person who kills dudes now. Haha.
When life hands you lemons, am I right?
But it's a fun game. Not super well written, but fun game. So, moving right along. What of loss or trauma? You bet it doesn't do either of these well either.
Damn right.
Game's central contrivance is Kratos and Boy are journeying to the top of the highest peak in all the realms, which at the start of the game they don't know is in Jotunheim until half the game later, because the plot dictates this must be a reveal for the audience.
Which doesn't make any sense if they would.
It doesn't
know,
make any
like,
sense.
Like if they have been in this world.
You've
talking,
been here
you
for
know,
how long?
You're like,
you just never talked to anyone or learned fucking anything about this new place you
Right.
are? Come on.
oh, I met a bunch of Norse gods, but didn't think like, what are they the gods of? Because this is it.
I mean-
and then there's the giant world. Like this is. I mean, it's kind of Norse mythology 101 stuff.
But like I can to some extent like hand wave that of like, okay, he's just trying to keep his head down. Like he doesn't want to do anything except live his life with his wife in these woods and like stay away from all of that shit.
Staunch
Sure.
isolationist.
And he's
Yeah.
I mean he's the thing is though, there's no reason for him to not keep doing that until the plot dictates it.
Right. I mean, like, yeah,
I think
he gets attacked
we
kind
get
of
to
out
that
of
turning
nowhere.
point. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, I'd be fine with him saying like, yeah, like I don't need to learn all these things, but yeah.
Well, I mean, not learning stuff about where you are, even if you don't have an intention of like going and interacting with the people there, is I don't know.
I feel like he
And,
would
like,
have seen a
he
giant.
obviously
I feel like he
he
would have seen a
obviously-
giant.
He didn't even learn how
Yeah,
to
he
read
married.
in this world.
He married a giant. He had to know where the giant's
Yeah.
from.
Well, no,
Giants are
because
from
the
the
giants. This is
They
one
just
where it's very,
never talk.
very confusing to me. That giants
Never
are not giant in this world unless they want to be. Like,
Except when
Oh.
Balder makes the joke of "I thought you'd be taller."
well, they can.
Yeah,
a lot of
but-
giants can shapeshift, right?
Probably, if the plot deems it necessary, yes.
Well, do you know
There's,
the
like-
Norse mythology about like poetry? How poetry was created?
I don't
know.
I
actually
can
know
tell
that
it
one.
briefly. It's a pretty
Lay
fun.
it on me.
Tommy, do you have some?
No. I think I know it, but I want to hear. I
Well,
wanna hear.
yeah, chime in if I'm gonna just give it the long and short, but like, basically, there's this like awesome potion that this giant makes, and this giant like goes out or takes a nap or something, and his daughter guards it, and Odin turns into a giant and seduces the daughter so he can steal the potion, and he goes flying out as like I think an eagle, or something, and he goes flying away.
Raven, probably.
It might be because he does have the ravens, right?
Right.
But
David,
the daughter giant yells and her father wakes up or comes back and is all pissed and also turns into some giant creature and starts chasing Odin. And in order to get away, Odin like shits out some of the potion into the giant's face so the giant can't see and crashes and Odin gets away. And they say like that potion was poetry and that's how humans got poetry. But they also say that bad poetry was created by the poetry that was shit out onto the giant.
Yeah, dude, that's like how I heard it.
This game would have benefited greatly by having any of its mythology involving shit. I think. Like if it, I don't know. I think it just missed a lot of tricks.
Yeah. enough.
So where are we? Plot dictates must be real for the audience in order to spread Fridged Mom's ashes from it. Kratos and Boy are both similarly dour when Fridged Mom comes up, but nothing is ever really said about her. There's a few parts where Boy talks about when Mom was alive or what Mom would have done, but ultimately no one says or does anything to actually represent moving on from the trauma of that loss, or anything about that character at all, really, except that she apparently had a huge amount of time to make murals and paint ledges gold.
That's Freya and her golden arcs.
The plot dictates that by the end of the game, Kratos and Boy are fine with their loss, and so they are. Late game reveal, and again I use this term loosely, that the whole journey was somehow predicted by Fridge Mom is purely functionary. They had to explain why all the ledges were yellow, I guess. It's acknowledged, and then they move on. Was Freya's revenge part of Fridge Mom's plan too?
Seems fun.
Could Fridged Mom have told them the mistletoe thing earlier? It's a useless reveal that only happens because the script said it had to make a stone teenager go, oh, or to make a slightly more stone teenager feel very smart for figuring it out early. Now that we've established that the game
one are
fails to
you?
deliver on its thematic promises, let's examine why.
I wasn't either. I didn't figure it out at all, or really go.
That's brave of you, Paul.
You're just experiencing it as just a series of things that happen.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again, I have zero knowledge of the mythology here.
That's cool.
Also fine.
That's very fair. It's actually really great to like get that opinion because it sounds like me, Ivan, and Tommy had some going into it. So getting a blank slate, as it were, is pretty good.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. It may be that the sheer amount of games that I have played has made what I think is a good game into like a very hard to crack sort of echelon. You know what I mean? I could completely see if this was like, you know,
The first game I played in like 5 years.
Given the amount of games that you have experienced, like I could completely. It's completely reasonable to have been like, this is tight. It's also it's not unreasonable to be like, this is tight if you are like a fucking Norse mythology scholar of some sort. Like, I don't know, like what you like.
You can't like the game.
What I like is not liking things.
We also just like talking
I'm
shit
not
a little bit.
offended by you not liking this game. Let's just be clear on that. That's just more of just like, okay, I'm hearing an alternate perspective, and a lot of it, like a lot of your perspective right now for me is just kind of going over my head because it's just like no, didn't think about that.
Well,
That's great.
This is a peek behind the curtain of how my idiot brain works. Enjoy my barely coherent ramblings.
It's been entertaining so far. Let's keep it rolling.
I'm glad you guys are having fun. I'm having a blast.
Same.
Thanks for listening, and thank you out there in Twitch land. Anyone also listening along. We just got a BRB from Tommy, so I'm gonna stall for time a little bit.
Okay, should we just take a break now?
We can take a break now if you guys want to.
I'm cool with that.
All right, that's perfectly done. We got, let's see, what are my sections left? We got rating, we got gameplay, and I think that might actually be it.
Hell yeah.
Writing, gameplay, and in conclusion. We're over halfway there.
Hell yeah. It's been great.
All right. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the harrowing conclusion.
Hell yeah. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, let's call it, like 5 minutes?
A
little bit more.
What's it, 9:21?
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to just do it at 9? Call it 9:30?
Yeah, cool. Let's do that.
All right, I'll say it into the chat so that Tommy knows. You take care of it on the Twitch.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. Be back in like 10 minutes. Oh, yeah. Ooh wee. Shotgun a beer and do a
Ooh-wee.
live stream, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
Write 6 pages about a game you hate, they said. It'll be fun,
Oh,
they said.
it's more than that. It was, let's see, what's the final tally here? We got 8 pages, 4,767 words of notes before I even did the essay. And then 14 pages, or wait, right? What is this?
Well, you said it was 20 pages at the current font size, but
Current font size. Okay, so it's,
so
I guess I was
now what you need to
pretty liberal with my paragraph breaks.
now what
Essay
you need to
is
do is
5,096 words. So
you need to
that's
go through and replace all the periods with a slightly larger font
Yep.
size, and then
this guy writes essays.
increase the size of the spaces, also the font size there as well.
Feels like I'm reading nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Stupid, sexy Flanders.
Stupid smart Flanders. Oh shit, I changed the size. Now I have to spot again. There we go. Excuse me. I think I mentioned this a little bit later on, but while we're waiting for the rest of the crew, I wanted to make mention of a few games that I felt were in a similar vein that I was just sort of in my notes comparing and contrasting those games against this one and the amount of time that I spent in them. Starting with Yakuza 0, which I played for 8.7 hours according to Steam, which felt way longer. And I don't remember a single thing about the game besides the slot car racing and the guy who robs you.
It was really good then, huh?
It was, oh man, it was of all the Yakuza games, it was one. No, it was that I would describe as an intensely unenjoyable game, and I still managed to get almost 9 hours in it. I gave it a good fair shake, but it was a piece of shit. Next on the list was The Witcher with 36.7 hours, which is longer than I played God of War for. And another game that I remember almost nothing about.
Which Witcher?
The first one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did play some of The Witcher 3.
I hear that one is one of the best games, and I don't believe the people that tell me that. Because some people think God of War is 10 out of 10.
I played
What'd you say, Jesse?
I played
That 9 minutes goes by fast.
yeah.
True.
What'd you play, Paul?
I did play The Witcher 3 and the expansions, but that was like over a very long period of time compared to like I binged God of War. And I'd say I enjoyed the mechanics of God of War more because it was like the world was tighter. There was much more of a world in The Witcher to fuck around in.
Sure. I think The Witcher also came out in, I want to say 2010, maybe.
TJ was playing The Witcher when I was getting into Rocket League, so it was definitely like
Well,
7 years ago.
I'm specifically saying The Witcher 3. So like,
Oh, sure,
as
sure.
long as we're talking about, yeah. But it was
Witcher 1
long
came
enough.
out in 2008.
Damn.
This was long ago enough that I easily pirated like the full Witcher 3 with like its 2 expansion packs, and like it played
That's tight as hell.
flawlessly. So it had been that long after its release.
Sure.
Nice.
Witcher 3 came out, at least it came out on Steam in 2015.
I probably
So
played it in like
still a fair clip
2018.
ago.
2017. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. My notes reflect that. Sloppy, boring combat. Gerald couldn't lift his feet more than 2 inches off the floor to step over logs and stuff.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
The extremely cringy trading cards.
Gwent.
Trading cards?
Yeah.
No, in the first game,
Triple triad?
you get a lewdly illustrated like collectible card of the chicks you bang,
Oh,
which is like
okay.
every single character. Yeah, it's insane.
That's really terrible.
Like
Wow.
every female character, like almost literally every female character you meet is like, oh, you're the Witcher. Let's bone down.
Let's go to
It's
Bone Town.
heartily
Wow.
offensive. It's like tell me you hate women without telling me you hate women.
Jesus.
Yeah, pretty intensely gross.
Yes.
I don't know if that carries over to the second or third one. Hopefully not.
There was definitely some boning, but like no, that there was not like that much boning. There's like 3 women that I had good love interest with in like the entire game, and it was a lot of back and forth to get to that boning situation.
Sure.
And the card game was something called Gwent, which is like its own like
Right, they
actual
have like its
people.
own game now.
Yeah, it's like
Of course
a
it does.
standalone. It's like Hearthstone.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. Which is just magic.
I
So
think.
they're just banking off magic.
I never got the hang of it and would skip those sections of the game because
There's some
I got
people
time for
that
this.
fucking love that shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
I talked to people at that time. And they were saying, "Oh, Witcher 3. My favorite part was Gwent." I was like, "Oh, you mean that annoying card game that I skipped every time I could?"
Oh, so you're fucking basic. Got it.
Got
Sorry, is that harsh?
Mm-mm.
That's not an offense. I'm just talking shit. That's not meant to be. If anybody really likes it, it's all good.
It's entirely in line with everything that we're doing tonight, which is just kind of shitting a little bit on various things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the fun.
What's wrong with
for
that?
The lulz. It's for
For
the
the
lulz.
lulz.
You
Yeah.
can do it. You can donate a little money for the lulz. You don't even have to donate money. It's just time. And really
Donate
tolerant.
some
Really
laughs
tolerant at,
for the
at
lulz.
most.
Yeah, just open a tab and put the volume almost all the way off,
That's fine.
and then go about your night.
We're fine with this. Perfectly acceptable strategy to us.
Yo, sorry.
You're great.
what?
We went on a break.
How's it going?
Welcome back.
No, I saw the little breaky poo.
Okay.
I was just recounting some other games that were better and worse than God of War that I spent comparable amounts of time playing.
Yeah.
This was just from my notes, not the essay. I'll just say the other ones. Saints Row 4, 44.7 hours, great game. Red Faction Guerrilla, 14.4 hours, aggressively boring game. Red Dead Redemption 2, 319.7 hours, and one of the worst games I've ever played.
300 hours, Jesus.
And Middle Earth: Shadow of War, 45.6 hours.
That's amazing.
Again, aggressively boring.
Aggressively boring.
It was like, what if we did
Boars.
the first game again, but made everything take like 4 times as long for no reason? And
Yeah.
did the Assassin's Creed thing where you get shot by guys that are behind the camera that you have no chance of effectively dodging
Please
against.
don't do that.
It's awful.
For I associate God of War and Assassin's Creed, and I think it's because they both, I think, had games out. Well, I mean, they've had such long spans of game. Of course, they've overlapped probably for most of their lives at this point. But they're also both two games that stood out to me as very creative and fun original games that just tapered off pretty quick. That being said, I haven't played much beyond the first God of War or beyond Assassin's Creed 2, but I just really just like the get the feather, catch the guy, kill the guy, jump from the highest point, get to the next place to get the feather, to catch the guy, to kill the guy, to jump from the highest place to get the next place. You know what I mean?
Sure, it's just I feel like the
repetitiveness.
problem is that what Assassin's Creed 2 did well has become what every game does poorly.
Right. For sure.
And to an extent, like I wouldn't say God of War 2018 is at all like an Assassin's Creed game, just because
Yes.
it's not. But it certainly didn't learn the right lessons about open world design from the things that Assassin's Creed did well.
Gotcha.
When it was doing things well, which was a very long time ago. In the before time.
You could get into the Assassin's Creed
When there were only two
storage machine and go back in time.
PlayStations. I guess was that PlayStation 3? I think that was PlayStation 3.
I have no idea.
I think it was 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. Assassin's Creed 2 ruled. That is like the what I would consider, or no, Assassin's Creed 2 Part 2. I would say is my personal gold standard for what because it was the Ezio trilogy. The second game of the Ezio trilogy is my personal gold standard for what a good open world game is.
Okay.
And it had all the cool alien shit at the end. And you kill the fucking
cool
Pope in
alien
that
shit.
one.
Oh,
I love cool
love
alien
killing
shit.
the Pope in
Same.
video games, in Minecraft.
Yeah. Yep. In Assassin's Creed 2 Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Brotherhood, I think was what that game was called.
I don't
know. Whatever it was tight.
Shit. And the
That'd be great.
I think Brotherhood also like brought their online game in to play.
Right, that makes sense. I remember the mode, like it was like you had to like blend in with NPCs and stuff, right? Like it was almost like
you were
it was like
hunting
tag.
you were hunting and being hunted simultaneously.
Whoa.
Right.
It's like Alien vs Predator.
I do remember that actually. That shit was fun. That's like a cool, interesting way to do multiplayer in just that setting. But I feel like, again, every other game just sort of started doing something similar, but like not as good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I hear that for sure.
But yeah. Another thing that
I'm not out there.
another thing that is highly subjective
back.
and and contributes to the quality of video games
Yes.
Is the story
is the writing.
writing?
Oh, by which the story is conveyed. Yes, we are now entering the writing section of my essay. And again, spoilers, obviously spoilers.
Mm-hmm. And how?
The foundation of any narrative-based media is writing. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how good something looks or how good performances are if the writing isn't there. Every once in a grand while, you get the exception, a comic with a terrible plot and transcendent art, or a corny B movie with an outstandingly charismatic lead. But 9 times out of 10, if the writing isn't there, the final product is going to take a dip in quality.
Nobody can argue.
For
with that.
example, movie with a storied history of difficult production, Alien 3. And, we all love Alien here.
I would like to put it on record that
You're
I
here.
specifically like Alien 3.
I also like it. I think it. I think the criticisms of it are pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're pretty fair.
But it's got a lot of cool parts.
Yep.
Hey, aren't they just the sum of all their parts?
But so notably, this film went into production without a finished script. There were various other reasons that this movie failed, but without a solid writing foundation, all the rest was built on sand. In the interest of transparency, I will take this moment to say that I do actually like Alien 3, but I don't believe the things that I like about it are what the filmmakers set out to have me like about it. And again, I think that comes back to the writing. There's no way to read themes into a script that isn't finished. Can you tell I'm trying to avoid talking about God of War this paragraph so that it doesn't devolve into several pages of me just dumping on it? Have I mentioned that I wrote 8 pages of notes before starting this essay? Anyway, the writing sucks. Everything I mentioned above about the themes not being expressed and reveals not paying off are due to the lack of quality writing, and I want to say that I blame Disney and Marvel for this. My lifetime of watching movies and playing video games, I do genuinely feel that media is getting dumber. There was a time when video games were getting smarter because they had to compete with movies, which were then perceived as inherently a more intellectual form of entertainment, but then movies started getting so much dumber that I guess video games have followed suit, realizing that the bar is a lot lower than they once believed it to be. I might have actually just talked about this with the whole gang, but in the essay it says, I've done this with Jesse already, but dear listener, take a journey with me into the past and answer me this question.
I've done many. They're fun.
Between the release of God of War 3 on the PlayStation 3 in 2010 and the release of God of War on the PlayStation 4 in 2018, how many Marvel movies do you think were released?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I will take any answer. Buzz in whenever.
I'm going.
Yeah, I know the answer,
12.
I think.
We got Paul with 12. Tommy, what you got?
No,
I think it's something like absurd, like 16.
I'm going to up mine to actually 18.
We got Paul with 18 and we got Tommy with 16. Final answers?
Yes, lock me in.
Final. Yeah,
Locked
lock
in.
it in.
It is 16.
Damn.
Good
Okay.
fucking numbers, boys.
Pretty good on both counts.
Yeah, because it's like absurd how much content they release.
It's 2 a
It
year,
is really,
right?
and that's not counting TV
Right.
shows and like the stuff that's Marvel but not actually Marvel. This is 16 mainline feature film releases over the course of 8 years. That's 2 a year. It's crazy.
It's too much.
It's too much.
What a
It's
ratio.
absolutely bonkers. So these movies are wildly popular. Why? Because they're cheap and easy to write. No one has to think very hard while they watch them. People get to sit back and let their senses take them on a lab-grown joyride of bright colors, flashing lights, snappy dialogue, and music swells designed to release serotonin and dopamine in reflexive waves so that the audience leaves with the impression they've felt something, anything at all.
Can we just pause here on one moment?
Yes, of course.
There was no script written for the original Iron Man movie either.
Oh,
that was
kinda
figured
tight,
it-
'cause that's one of the only ones that I think is actually good.
Yeah, that was figured out. And that's when you said that kind of as a beef of one of the other movies. It was like, okay, that movie was figured out on the day of with Robert Downey Jr. and John Favreau.
Robert Downey.
Just kind of like spit taking every scene, and
didn't know
I'm
that.
totally Lebowski, Jeff Bridges, hated
That's really
working
impressive.
on that movie because he was just like, you guys are like killing me. We're here like doing just like talking about every scene for several hours before we shoot anything. Like, just give me a fucking script, let me shoot it.
Oh, that would kill
Oh,
me
man.
too.
Yeah, I absolutely get that, but like John Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. were just like they were making it up of like, okay, so I think that we're gonna do
They were
this.
finding
Well,
the
how about
movie.
this? How about this? Like,
Huh.
so there was no script for the original Iron Man
I'm
before
sure
the
they
movie
also
was.
had a much lower level of like studio meddling.
Yes.
They were doing the first film in a brand new franchise versus the third film in a
Or the 16th
multi-decade
film.
spanning, or the
The,
16th film.
the formula was not set as much. There was a lot more free flow to it, but just like saying like a script does not have to be written for you to come out with a good movie when you're shooting it.
That's true.
Hey, like I mentioned, there are certainly exceptions. There's exceptions to every rule. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know,
And this is
But
not even getting
you
into
can-
the
but there's a
God,
lot
what
of
are
bets you
the
can hedge.
That's also
yeah.
true.
What are those movies? The whole series of movies where they just literally ad lib every line.
Jackass,
Hey.
No,
Jackass 2.
Best in Show.
Oh, I know what you're
Uh,
talking about. Yeah. What's that guy's name? Is that
The
Chris
Heart
for
of yeah.
guest Spinal Tap?
Yeah, like
That's
that kind of
Spinal Tap.
stuff. Yeah, they just like they tell them, okay, like this is what this scene is about, and this is actually what Robert Downey Jr. and John Favreau were doing, like for Iron Man. But like, just literally, okay, just ad lib whatever you want. Okay, let's go.
See, I'm all about some like improv, like Upright Citizens Brigade, homies. And by like, I don't necessarily mean the
Yeah,
TV show, like more like the improv comedy group based out of I think New York.
yeah.
Sure.
But
The
that's
other
cool.
thing
That
is,
sounds tight.
there's no way the script for God of War was improvised.
Oh,
That's-
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
that's 1,000,000%
Yeah.
true. Yeah, nobody's gonna fight that. I don't think.
Yeah, nope.
So yeah, 16 Marvel movies, and these movies are wildly popular. Why? Because they're cheap and easy to. Oh, I already read this. All right. There's nothing substantive to any of these movies. There are no stakes because all of these characters have to come back for the other movies. A vague threat appears, hectors the heroes for 2 hours, calls down their blue or yellow space laser or their MacGuffin-based drone army. They fight bloodlessly, and the good guys win.
Woo!
There's music cues to let you know when you're supposed to think someone is in peril,
Thank God for those.
or to let you know someone is a bad guy, or that a moment is somber and emotional. But can you remember any of these moments? Snap in Infinity War doesn't count because it's the only one I can think of, and it was born undercutting itself. No one thought any of those characters weren't coming back. Anyone? Emotional moment in a Marvel movie that sticks with you?
Oh. Like actually, like the only one I can like really think of is when like Groot dies, but it doesn't.
Oh, I was gonna
really
say-
got to stretch for it.
Romanoff in
I never remembered Groot dying.
Infinity Wars. Natasha Romanoff.
Duking it out to go off the edge.
Yeah, that was a
I,
little bit unexpected.
Yeah, I have a tendency, like, if you put any music to like if you're like taking any bit of cinema and you're throwing me in the theater specifically and you give me like swelling cinema,
Sure.
it'll usually trigger something, but like I know I'm like hook line sinker for it. Like
Sure.
I'm like
Yeah,
aware of it
that's fine.
before I'm like
That's cool.
I mean, it's
Sometimes
just
it feels less-
it's
Sometimes it
working
feels
on you
less-
exactly as intended.
I know, but sometimes it feels disingenuous because you know it's like you're like
Definitely, you're
like-
I don't actually feel this. I just feel this because there's swelling music.
Right.
Like, knock this off. I don't like being emotionally manipulated.
yeah.
Unless I can't tell I'm being emotionally
Right,
manipulated,
unless
then
I
it's fine.
consent, and this isn't that time or the place to talk about this.
My safe word is blancmange.
I don't consent.
Oh my.
So yeah. So one character death across 16 movies that we can all remember. Tight. Good movies.
Yep. I remember.
Here's kind of another question. Does anyone have any like good memorable Marvel movie quotes? I don't. I can't think of one. Aside from "I'm Iron Man" at the end of Iron Man, and Mickey Rourke talking about his bird in Iron Man 2.
I did like how they subverted around like saying particular catchphrases. Like I don't think they ever said like "Avengers Assemble," like or like it's always like it was at least like leading up to when it was finally said.
They're like, "Avengers, get in here."
Yeah, they like. I thought that was kind of like funny.
I hope that's a real joke they did. That's probably the best joke any of those Marvel movies ever did.
No, and actually the only one that was like pretty good that I thought was pretty funny, it was from Deadpool. I just like the catchphrase. Maximum effort was pretty funny.
Deadpool does not count as MCU yet.
Yeah.
Deadpool 3 will be MCU.
Oh.
Sure.
Now we know. Now we know. Paul,
you heard it here first.
Paul,
well, I mean that's how they're
breaking news.
I mean, did we not all see that they're bringing Wolverine into the next Deadpool movie?
Whoa.
So the X-Men are barely MCU.
Well, they're only MCU as of like Disney bought the Fox like properties to bring them in just like a year or two ago.
Finally. All our favorite media properties under just a couple umbrellas.
The mouse knows all. The mouse owns all.
When will Disney play Warner Brothers in basketball? The ultimate.
When will Disney or Warner Brothers buy How to Kickflip a Horse?
Yeah.
Give me a real job.
Cowards.
Writing things better for them.
Don't you know?
Anyway, another thing writing dictates is dialogue. Dialogue in this game is miserable. Kratos' growling and grunting refusals to emote like anything but a buff, bald, bearded baby who wanted candy but didn't get any candy utterly fails to convey him as a threat to his enemies or as a cool guy I want to hang out with or listen to talk. Boy is a whiny child. He goes through his goth phase, his straight A student phase, and his murderous sociopath phase with the power of the literal his murderous sociopath with the power of the literal gods phase in the course of what I think the game thinks is a single day. None of it is earned or addressed once the plot dictates it's time to move on. These events are explained, yes, but there is nothing cohesive in how they are conveyed. These moods exist as vignettes, unconnected to the greater narrative, but for featuring the same characters and being accompanied by appropriate music. There was one part where I was struggling with one of the many chest puzzles, and Boy chimed in, "Can we hurry up and go now?" And I almost spit my fucking hams out because for a moment I thought I was having a genuine moment of connection to one of the characters in this game.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've been there so many times in video games where you're just so pissed at it, and there's usually some set piece that's being like that. When you're done playing the game, like hours and days later, you hear that fucking thing in your head. Like, it's like, construct additional pylons, but like,
sure.
But like the death noise in a game. And I'm sure people that play Elden Ring and those other very frustrating games know what I'm talking about.
From following the God of War subreddit since I played the game 2 years ago, like there are some of the scenes of like Boy where it's like if you want to get instant upvotes, like, oh, don't you remember how annoying Boy was in this scene?
Mm-hmm.
Like easy upvotes.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, at least the community acknowledges the game's shortcoming.
Absolutely.
I think ultimately that's the real reason that I am interested in criticism as like a form is because I think it helps people to recognize why they enjoy the things they enjoy and to decide on whether that's a thing that they actually want to spend their brain cells on.
That's a good way to put it for sure.
Thanks. Dialogue is important because it's how characters give voice to their feelings. It's how we learn their personalities and their motivations. Let's briefly go back to how violence is treated in this game in character dialogue. I've already mentioned Boy's emo murder revelation, but let's talk about all the killing Kratos does, and how no one gives a single shit. Aside from Head, who is the third character that I suspect was placed in the game to save the guy from Stargate from having to read more expository dialogue, who makes a few pithy remarks about Kratos not having any trouble doing a huge amount of killing, which the game immediately disregards the seriousness of. Oh shit, I read that very wrong. I'm good at reading and typing.
Well, you're killing it.
No one gives a single shit. Aside from Head making a few pithy remarks about Kratos not having any trouble doing a huge amount of killing, the game immediately disregards the seriousness of one of its proposed themes, the horror of violence and murder, by punctuating it with this Marvel-ass snappy quip bullshit seconds after the emotional beats are meant to register. Serotonin and dopamine, right on schedule. Technically the only thing any of us enjoy. Apologies to Drew
Technically
Toothpaste.
the only thing any of us enjoy.
There's no time to reflect or process what is actually going on or being said because there's always some fucker running their mouth about something utterly inane. Head and Tweedledee and Dumb, the dwarf blacksmith brothers and arbiters of the game's glacial upgrade system, more on this next section, have no end of quips and quirks. One of the dwarfs is a germaphobe. Ha! See? It subverts what you think about fantasy dwarves. Clever girl. We pan away to me challenging Kratos to a Fortnite dance-off. Hilarious. You can tell because I told you it is. And that bonus hit of nostalgia for me making you think about Jurassic Park, an all-the-way good movie, that's on the house.
Oh, man.
They know all the shit. That thing you're looking for, Head or a Tweedle knows all about it and can plop a marker on your useless map. This represents an opportunity sorely missed to use writing and dialogue to portray that perhaps Kratos has grown and learned to live outside of his rage. Showing that Kratos gave a single shit about the faraway land he decided to build a family in would have gone a long way to making the audience actually care about his relationship to Boy. Instead, we get Kratos and Boy both in slack-jawed stupor rowing their stupid boat around while Head yammers and yaws and a third word for talks too much that starts with Y about every proper noun you encounter throughout the story. Even heaps on a few that I really don't think come up in the game unless I missed them. And then he doesn't. The game's fast travel has you walking down some weird between-realm pathway while some more yammering takes place, until it doesn't. About 3/4 of the way through the game, I noticed that when I fast traveled, no one had anything else to say. Had I fast traveled too much? It was hard to tell.
Is it my fault?
Could we not put some of the boat dialogue I ruthlessly skipped upon going ashore in these parts? Perhaps they were all too boat-specific. Or no one thought of it because it doesn't seem like anyone was doing much of any thinking in God of War's writers' room.
Oof. Hit him with it.
The final thing I'll talk about that is influenced the most by writing is pacing, which I know is funny in a very long essay. Urgency, as with internal motivation, is delivered via writing. It is conveyed via dialogue. Having Heads yammering in the boat sections was just as deleterious to my ability to enjoy the game as the absence of it in the fast travel dimension. If I were to give them an extremely generous benefit of the doubt again, I would note the caveat that it may be difficult to adequately convey urgency in an open-world game, except that when an open-world game has writing worth a damn, stakes that are believable and possible for me to care about, as well as being fun to play, I don't find myself thinking of the dissonance of going on side missions while the fate of the world hangs in the balance. As far back as 2009, I can name Assassin's Creed 2 as an open-world game that felt occupied without being bloated, had characters that were actually characters and not exposition dumps made ambulatory, and gave you an actual, tangible, gameplay-based reason to do the side quests. God of War yanks you away from any of these constructions at every turn, sometimes seemingly on purpose. There was another near beer spitting moment where, after finally arriving at Jotunheim, while taking in the purple tinged vista that looked a lot like the red, green, and regular tinted vistas from the other realms, that boy said something to the effect of, "Come on, we're so close to the end." To which I replied out loud, alone in my apartment, "Boy, we had fucking better be." There was another hour.
Of fucking bullshit.
I mean, well, if you're 29 hours in,
When I hit that 30-hour mark, I was like, please no more. Please no more. Please.
we're close to the end. I mean, that's not
We're
inaccurate.
so close to the end. And I mean, it was only another hour. But
I know.
it wouldn't have surprised me if it had been 10. It would have been dozens more hours if I went and did all the bullshit side quests.
That's true too.
Is it just
Which,
skins and bull? Is it just skin, like, or side quests, anything, or are they just time-consuming elements in the game?
they're just sources of very small amounts of XP, as near as I can tell.
It depends. I guess like some of them are just like 100% completion type things of
I guess
like
some of them give you items and stuff.
some of them are for the upgrade system that Ivan will be talking about shortly here.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Here.
It's going.
In the gameplay section. Spoilers. Obviously spoilers.
Wait. Are there
What?
Are there going to be spoilers?
No.
Okay.
It's a mystery that you have to solve by the end of this essay, or I'll have your fingers removed.
Oh, I need those. Okay.
All right. So this section is definitely this section is definitely going to be the most nitpicky, so I'll try to keep it brief. In summary, the gameplay, the actual gameplay, the moment-to-moment feel of the game is not bad. It's fun throwing axes at dudes. I'll admit that. The axe flies in predictable and consistent arcs. Kratos' movements are accurate and responsive. The camera points where it needs to. The thing about this is, the cinematic camera from the old games is definitively better at portraying scale and at showing huge mobs in a way that is consistently fun to look at. The way God of War 2018 is presented makes it look and feel like Resident Evil 4, a game that came out the same year as the original God of War in 2005.
Whoops.
Now, don't get me
Not
wrong,
great.
Resident Evil 4 is one of my all-time favorite games.
Great
Last
game.
year I played through it for Spooktober on stream, and it was an absolute delight. You can see those videos on our YouTube. There's probably 4 or 5 videos of me just really enjoying the shit out of Resident Evil 4 in between not enjoying like 3 other games.
Oh yeah. Good game.
The difference here is that in Resident Evil 4 you play as Leon Kennedy, modern human man. The camera hugs your shoulder claustrophobically, adding tension and making sure that you only see the parts of the level you're supposed to see, while methodically blasting the parasites out of the heads of cultists. In God of War 2018, you play as Kratos, literal God of War. In narrative, there is nothing that ought to be able to stand against Kratos. He lifts huge stone pillars, he rotates an entire gigantic movable bridge, he snaps Baldur's neck twice, though the first time it doesn't take. However, time and again, the game seems to want to show you the game over screen more than anything. This phenomenon I blame on Dark Souls, for creating a subset of gamers who believe that fighting the same enemy 30 times is an engaging and enriching experience. And I'm here to tell you, no it fucking isn't. Especially in a game where the story is meant to be the main attraction. Throwing out these numerous Valkyrie fights, which are among the cheapest, most boring slugfests I've yet seen, as though they're meant to be a satisfying challenge and not a simple time suck, strikes me as lazy and disingenuous. Again, the game misses a trick for a satisfying subversion of tropes here by not making every fight a near comedic breeze for Kratos, his power horrifying and traumatizing those around him. Or the opposite, let us do something besides kill everything. Instead, we have to hack and slash our way through every encounter.
And we do.
Another aspect the game bungles is the climbing. The original God of War had some climbing parts I remember, and they were far from the best parts of those games. However, during at least some of them, there was stuff going on. You had to dodge falling rocks, and I'm pretty sure you even had to fight some dudes while climbing in the first one. It was a set piece. It was dramatic because there were stakes and something actually happening. You could lose at those segments. God of War 2018, there might have been one quick time event to dodge a boulder or something while climbing, but other than that, the climbing was exactly what so much of the rest of the game was. Busy work. Medium. Time sucking in a game that was already more padded than the shoulders in David Byrne's giant suit.
Oh, suck it, David Burns. See you soon.
I mean, it's fine on the suit. Shoulder blades or shoulder pads. Shoulders that big need shoulder pads.
I was just adding flavor.
No, that's fair. I'm just in defense of David Byrne's big suit.
I appreciate that.
I just, Talking Heads was I forget what album it was. The one of the last tapes in my last car all those years ago. Played it till it broke. I love
Not
Talking
making
Heads.
sense.
It might have been
Okay.
Stop Making Sense. That doesn't sound wrong.
No, that was just a statement for you.
Oh. The second half of the essay will be delivered in gibberish.
Yay. Just like the rest of
Through a
God of War.
didgeridoo. Thank you, David Byrne.
Well played.
Anyway. There was not a single part of the game that featured climbing that I can recall that would not have been better if the computer would have just done it for me. Stick some more laborious head exposition. Head's position in these parts and call it a cutscene. Same goes for the awkward level loading trick, the squeeze through a tight passage or under a low cavern ceiling. Just do it for me. If there's no chance at failure during these segments, once I start entering the cavern or whatever, just do it for me.
Yeah,
I'm moving forward to a new area. I'm not going to decide to turn around, probably.
it's true. We're
Just-
not gonna do it.
Do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fellas, we made it. In
Killing it. You're
conclusion.
killing it. This is amazing.
In conclusion. There might be spoilers here, but I didn't write it on the heading of this one. So, who knows? Maybe spoilers. So, there is a wide gulf I've noticed between what the gaming industry and what I consider to be top tier games, and I can't quite figure out why. Perhaps my standards are too high. I don't think that's true because there are games I've enjoyed in the last several years, just not many that I would consider to occupy the AAA space. But not being AAA doesn't entail an inherent lack of quality. Small teams can create brilliant games on limited budgets, and indeed
true.
do a lot of the time.
That's
Check
true.
out the genuinely impressive gameplay and narratives of games like The Long Dark, Stray, and Disco Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm getting at is that with the enormous budgets and development cycles that most AAA games receive, why isn't there a higher bar of quality? How can this class of games squander what they get time and time again? The cynical answer is money, I guess. I think the real answer is that the environments these games are created in simply aren't conducive to creating a truly engaging experience. We all know about crunch. We've all seen CEOs brazenly pad their own pockets with pay-to-win fuckery. We've all seen free-to-play games bald-facedly encourage minors to gamble their parents' money, and simply put, this is not the environment where unique and satisfying ideas can be born. Not broke, don't fix it is the most likely culprit for explaining why the industry is the way it is, but that also shows the gap between what we as the audience understand and what the industry honchos do. Because for them, it isn't broken. Scads of money that bullshit like GTA Online, Fortnite, and Roblox, etc. bring in with their obviously predatory transactional nature seemingly ensures that this practice will continue as long as we have games. And that fucking sucks. This also assures that for every Shadow of Mordor which ruled, that we get at least one Shadow of War. For every Assassin's Creed 2, we get one each. Assassin's Creed 3, 4, Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Sandwich, Origins, Odyssey, Orangutan. Aside, how dope would it be to have a game built on Assassin's Creed but you play as an ape? Leave the impenetrable story of Templars and bullshit in it but play as an orangutan with neither ability nor inclination to understand the plot, who is hell-bent on mayhem in the pursuit of bananas. See, in 2 sentences, I've innovated more on the series than Ubisoft has in over a decade.
Which is true.
A lot of people say that this model of game production is unsustainable, and I'm not going to disagree with them. I love seeing company staff striking and unionizing, but similarly to above, for every time this happens, there will be a Bobby Kotick getting a several $100 million severance package for presiding over a company rampant with sexual assault and fraud. However, in terms of fistfuls of dollars, this model very clearly is sustainable. The thing that is going to change. The thing that is going to change, though, and like I said above, is that the audience for games will shift. If adult gamers can bring themselves to catch wise and think critically about the media they consume, all that is likely to happen is, like me, we'll get bored. We'll stop spending money on these games until we have kids who demand $80 season passes or whatever, and the target audience for gaming as a whole will shift to cater to children even more so than it does now. And after the decades of hard work that so many talented artists put in to get games to be thought of as more than kids' toys, the grand capitalist backslide will suck the medium out to the sea of soulless corpo mediocrity once more. Small studios will probably stop existing.
Yes.
The only games that will be more than time and money suckers will be single dev labors of love that will become fewer and farther between until, I'm willing to bet, they cease to exist entirely. I guess that's why I spent 30 plus hours suffering through a game I hated, and who knows how long writing this, to drop my pebble in the river of shit, to encourage anyone who will listen to think one more step ahead, pull back one more lens to a slightly larger picture, recognize the manipulative nature of these games, and hopefully stop giving these assholes any more fucking money. Will it work? No. Do I care? Also no. But there's no way that listening to me rant is a worse use of your time than playing God of War 2018.
Yes. Nailed the dismount. I'm assuming that was the dismount.
That was it.
Oh, nice.
That's the end.
Yeah, nailed the dismount.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. So wait, what did you think of God of War 2018? No.
Yeah,
It was-
did you like it?
It was fine.
It was fine. Not too bad. Cool. Which Marvel
Your favorite
movie
game
are you
ever?
stoked about the most this year?
Ooh, probably red guy punches purple guy. Number 4. No, the one. Actually, I do. My actual answer is the one with the rock in it, which I don't know what it's called. But I know
Black
that he's in
Jumanji.
it, and he walks away
Black-
from an explosion.
Black Adams.
Black Shazam.
Black Shazam.
Black Shazam, yeah.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. This has all been very fantastic and eye-opening.
What was that last bit, Jesse?
I said this has all been absolutely fantastic, and very eye-opening. I really liked at the end. I think you articulated something that I really appreciated. Just in like this whole like, I think the most common argument you see when people are like, yeah, loot boxes are really shitty and predatory is people being like, well, if you don't like them, don't buy them. And it's like, that's like really the basic level of answer. And you really got to think about the long-term effects that's going to have on the industry.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
think
just
it's really
again,
important to illustrate
it's just
that.
one more step. It's like I know that I don't buy
Exactly.
loot boxes in the game with loot boxes,
Exactly.
but try telling that to some fucking 8-year-old why buying loot boxes is a terrible idea. They don't give a shit.
Exactly.
They want loot boxes, and you have
Exactly.
money because you're an adult, and they want your money.
And grandma's
Or
going to
someone-
go to GameStop and buy those fucking physical cards to give
Yeah.
to the
I mean, I've been guilty of also just in the like, okay, I'm an adult, I have $3 to spend on this thing, and I just want this annoyance in my path to go away. And that just rewarded the game for putting the annoyance in my path because I spent the $3 to like
Sure.
get more of whatever the fuck, like I just
Right.
entirely rewarded the annoyance behavior.
And yeah, I mean, it's not about like individual accounts of like this bit of consumerism as much as just like an overall consciousness and like the way that I think the industry is predatory to children and like non in the circle adults rather than like an individual like you who like makes a purchase from time to time.
Well, I think predatory is definitely something, but it's just more about the game has gone from being a game for the enjoyment of the game to like, how do I squeeze money out of this?
Right.
And that's where it does become predatory on everyone, children to lazy adults, but because it's like, I used to be able to buy the game and play the game for the sake of playing the game. Like the $30.
Because the game was good.
Right, I'm saying, but
Right.
like the $30 I spent buying the game was the game. That was it. Like,
Right. Not all this other horse shit attached to it.
yeah,
And it's easier to justify small purchases over time. Like if a loot box is, I don't know, $4, $5 or whatever, you go, it's $4, it's $5 versus like
Right.
the 50, 60, now $70 that modern console games cost sometimes. Like I don't know, it's like I think that's also part of the predatory nature. Like that shit works on like my dad.
agree.
My dad was telling he's like, I've been spending too much money on Bejeweled, and I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my
Bejeweled,
God,
Dad.
that's
It's like,
fair.
yeah, you know, it's just so, you know, it gets my brain going. I just want to slide these little squares around and make the things disappear. And I'm like, Dad,
Well,
stop. It's like, but you can only play it so many times. Then you got to spend money to get more turns. And I'm like, yeah, it's like the quarters at the arcade. Like,
Oh, it's gambling.
No one-
Gambling incarnate.
no one beats Space Invaders, Dad. No one beats pinball.
But you can set the high score for that machine.
True. I mean,
Until it gets unplugged.
I'm not out here trying.
And you got yourself a Seinfeld situation.
Oh man, what a good episode.
It was a great episode.
Well,
How
yeah.
long did we hit with that? Was that? God damn, we're hitting.
We
well,
ran
we talked
right
for
about like 10. Yeah, if you took out some of the banter,
we talked for a
like,
good while.
Yeah, you hit a solid hour and a half.
Yeah,
I'd say a solid hour. I'd say a solid hour.
I'm perfectly satisfied with 5,000 words taking a solid hour. That sounds pretty reasonable.
I think you did pretty good.
versus the Futurama. Well, it took me an hour to write, so I figured it'd take an hour to read.
Yeah, that's how that works. 100%.
Oh boy, if it took as long to read it as it took to write it, we'd be here for
Yeah, we'd be ruined.
we'd be
Single
here for at
female
least
lawyer.
31.8 hours.
Thank you for taking the time to write it and read us another awesome essay. I'd
Thank you
revisit
guys.
The hot dog essay one day.
Maybe one of these days. I don't know if I actually still have that.
Well, that'd
Check
be
my
a
writing
tragedy
folder.
if you don't have it, because I've not heard it.
Have you heard about it?
I've heard about it. Oh,
Okay,
I heard
good.
about it.
Best kept secret.
Is it this one? I do still have it.
Nice.
Let's see. Let's check the word count on hot dog essay. That one's only 3,362 words.
Oh, that's all.
Oh, and that includes sources, but no, that's not that much. The real reason I didn't want to revisit the hot dog essay was because shortly after its completion, one of my favorite podcast personalities, the comedian Jamie Loftus of the Bechdel Cast, which is a very good movie analysis podcast, started doing a live show about competitive hot dog eating, and then started writing a book about competitive hot dog eating. And that is pretty much what that essay is about. And I was like, God damn it, Jamie Loftus.
You've done it again.
So I didn't put much effort into reviving that. I have part of another one on the history of olive oil fraud.
I would love that. That sounds amazing.
That one's called. Wait, what's that one called? That
Even
one's
if
called.
You could just read us the hot dog one at some point.
That one's called Extra Virgin Crime Juice.
Oh,
I'd read you. I'd read you guys the hot dog one. I'd read you guys the hot dog one again, mainly because the audio for it got lost, and
yeah, that's on me.
and it's easier to read that one than finish the one on olive oil crime.
That's also true. That's
Um,
very fair and acceptable reasoning.
the olive oil crime one, I'm very interested in hearing.
Well, all right.
All right.
You can Venmo my
Here we
Patreon.
Here we go.
There we go. There we go.
There it is. What is it?
For a small-
Plug it.
For a small loot box fee.
Yeah. Yeah,
Especially
we're
this
doing,
one
we're
loot
doing a
box.
new thing here on How to Kick Flip a Horse. We'll be offering loot boxes, which is where you pay money
Ooh.
to subscribe to our various channels, and then maybe you get something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Don't hold your breath for the
Yeah.
worthwhile though. Just
Well,
Well, I mean,
I will 100% take money to continue writing the olive oil essay or any essay.
He'll do it.
Paul behind the scenes asked me how much I would charge for 12 pages on why God of War 2018 is good.
wow.
Um,
The second half, part
Which-
2. I love it.
my response
What a
was, how much
genius.
is 12 pages of lies worth to you?
and my follow-up was, what is your dignity worth?
Hey.
Not for sale, but I'll definitely write a essay full of lies for money.
I'll definitely.
Like any good journalist, I will lie for money. That's not true at all. But I do enjoy writing. I really enjoy researching stuff. You guys might have picked up on that from the character that I
love
play on
it.
Burn Bright.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like my favorite shit. I wish I could get a job doing that without having to have like a library sciences degree.
Right.
Hmm.
But you have to have a
Because
master's
if
for,
someone
that's
was,
a lot.
yeah, that's a whole lot of school that I am not ever gonna fucking do. Yeah, hire me to write for you. Hire me to research for you.
He'll do it.
Listen to our show. Thanks for listening to our show.
Mhm.
Hey,
Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about here in these last couple minutes before 10:30?
you're all great.
Mhm.
You're great.
I disagree with everything you said. God of War is the best game ever.
Every bit,
Hot
every
cakes.
single part.
Except for the parts where during the stream I said, oh yeah, that bit did suck.
Except for the parts where I am on record agreeing with you.
Yeah, and also the parts where I didn't put my mic up to be like, oh yeah, that bit sucked too.
Yeah.
Well, I hope even if your opinion of the game overall remains unswayed, I hope that you do
Eat shit.
I recognize
recognize
and
what I'm
understood.
saying.
I recognized and understood every one of your gripes about the game. Absolutely.
Just put some respect on it. That's all we're asking.
I put some respect
Put some
on it.
respect on it.
He did.
All right,
The audience.
put some respect on it. Yeah.
For sure.
bucking
I mean,
at
the
him
audience
right now.
knows.
You can't see.
Yeah.
I'm bucking.
The audience knows. The audience knows to put some respect on it.
I am 100% going to get God of War 2 Ragnarok
Mm-hmm.
5.
and play that shortly after it comes out.
I can't wait to hear your 12-page essay on why it's good.
Yeah, same.
That's honestly, that's what I want more than anything. If
geez.
anything
Alright,
can
so,
come from me writing this essay
Commitment.
about why God of War 2018 was bad, I would love for it to be you writing an essay on why God of War Ragnarok is good.
I pay you to ghostwrite my essay.
Oh yeah. Yes, you fucking can. Oh,
You still have to
man
read
is
it on the
for
stream, though.
sale, and you have to pretend.
The man is for sale. Yeah, you can't say that I wrote it on the stream, even though
No,
we're saying
ghost
that I
write.
wrote it on the stream
Ghost
right
write.
now. Yeah.
Ghost
So
write the
these
wit.
are all the original written down thoughts of me, Paul.
For some reason, I'm very angry about how much I like this game.
Is I, Paul.
It's a stirring turn of events. It's Paul's heel turn when he
And my
sabotages
stupid
his own
opinions.
essay. in my stupid opinions, which are wrong, God of
I
War
think this is
Ragnarok was
fantastic.
pretty good.
Hmm.
Oh,
This
it
is
was great.
amazing.
Should come back with a hard rebuttal, Paul.
It would be so
I don't
funny.
have much.
I would
I don't have
love
much
that
to
so
rebut against that. Like,
Right.
genuinely, like it's just like we have just different, I guess opinions of what mattered in the game for us to have enjoyment of it or not. Like,
Well, I would say the most
So civil.
the most like obvious difference between where our opinions are ultimately formed from is the sheer difference in number of games that we have played at all.
Yeah.
Sort of like kind of almost like what we were talking about with you wishing that we had explained more D&D stuff to you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Whoops.
It's certainly like it can almost, well, I guess what I was saying wouldn't constitute a blind spot, but like the way that constitutes a blind spot, I think informs my opinion. But like I guess in the opposite way. I don't know.
And I'm saying that's fair. Like you have a perspective on games where you are like burnt out on XYZ mechanic, and like the storyline that follows that or whatever. Like, cool. I mean, my burnout was actually from playing Witcher 3, which like a lot of people say is such an amazing game, and I'm like, I had fun playing it, but I got so fucking bored doing this
Yeah.
like massive open world like.
Right.
Oh,
You,
now
you
I need
didn't
this
spend
piece.
you didn't spend over 300 hours trying to 100% it.
Absolutely not.
Oh, we
How do I see how much time I spent? Can I see how much time I spent? I'm trying to load this
Wait.
up on my.
We're cutting the stream now, right?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
sure.
good now.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
do we want to keep going? Like, what's the deal?
Oh, we're good.
I mean,
it's
I-
good.
I'm sorry I cut in. I just panicked and I was like, wait, was I supposed to cut the stream? Hold on.
I don't.
Jesse, you
care.
supposed to stream like 10 minutes ago.
Right, exactly. I was like, wait.
We've been live
Didn't we
this
all
whole
trade
time.
social security numbers? Fuck.
Oh no, my personal information. Cut it now. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.